Laia lived a simple life. She shared a small home with her brother Darren and their grandparents. Life under the Martial Empire was harsh, but they found comfort in their shared heritage and love for knowledge. Darren, a skilled blacksmith, dreamt of a brighter future. He whispered stories of rebellion and freedom. Laia, a scholar at heart, devoured ancient texts. She yearned for a world where knowledge wasn't forbidden. Their days were filled with the rhythms of their quiet life. Laia spent her time poring over scrolls, her fingers tracing forgotten words. Darren worked tirelessly at the forge, the clang of his hammer a constant melody. They shared stories and dreams under the watchful eyes of their grandparents, their laughter a brief respite from the oppressive reality of their world. But peace was a fragile thing in the Martial Empire. The iron fist of the Empire pressed down on them, a constant reminder of their subjugation. The scholars, once revered for their wisdom, were now seen as a threat. Their knowledge, their history were deemed dangerous by the ruling class. Fear was a constant companion, lurking in the shadows. Despite the ever-present fear, Laia and Darren held on to hope. They clung to the stories of their ancestors, stories of a time before the Empire, a time of freedom and enlightenment. They whispered these stories like prayers, their voices low, their eyes searching for any sign of change in the oppressive silence of their world. The night the masks came, their world shattered. The masks were the Empire's enforcers, their faces hidden behind silver masks, their presence a chilling reminder of the Empire's absolute power. They stormed into their home, their armor glinting menacingly in the moonlight. Accusations were hurled like daggers, piercing the peaceful silence of their home. "Treason!" they shouted, their voices echoing with chilling authority. Darren, his face pale with fear, was dragged away. He struggled against their iron grip, his cries for mercy swallowed by the night. Their grandparents, their frail bodies trembling, tried to intervene, but they were brutally shoved aside. Laia watched in horror, her blood turning to ice in her veins, as her family was torn apart. Desperation clawed at Laia's throat, threatening to consume her. She was alone, her family ripped away from her brother facing unimaginable horrors. Fear threatened to paralyze her, but the thought of Darren, his kind eyes filled with terror, fueled her with a desperate resolve. She knew she had to act, had to find a way to save him. Whispers of a rebellion, stories Darren had shared in hushed tones, echoed in her mind. It was a dangerous gamble, a desperate hope, but it was the only chance she had. Laia knew she had to find the resistance, had to risk everything to save her brother. Guided by fragments of information, whispers passed from one terrified soul to another. Laia found herself at the doorstep of the resistance. They were her only hope, her last resort in a world that had turned brutally cold. They listened to her story, their faces grim, their eyes filled with a shared pain. They knew the Empire's cruelty, had experienced its ruthlessness firsthand. The resistance offered her a deal, a dangerous bargain. They would help her, help Darren, but only if she agreed to become their eyes and ears within the heart of the Empire. She would become their spy, their weapon against their oppressors. Her mission: infiltrate the Commandant's household, the very heart of the Empire's might. Fear gnawed at Laia, but the thought of Darren imprisoned and alone fueled her resolve. She agreed to their terms, accepting the weight of their expectations, the burden of their hope. She was thrust into a world of secrets and lies, trained to observe, to blend in, to become invisible. Laia became a shadow in the Commandant's house, a silent observer in a den of vipers. Every day was a test of her courage, her loyalty, her ability to wear a mask of servitude while her heart screamed for rebellion. Elias Viturius, a soldier in the making, stood apart from his peers. Trained since childhood in the brutal art of war, he was a weapon forged in the fires of the Empire's ambition. He excelled in his training, his skills surpassing even the most seasoned soldiers. Yet beneath the surface of the perfect soldier, a storm raged within him. Elias despised the Empire he was sworn to serve. He saw the cruelty, the oppression, the utter disregard for human life that fueled the Empire's insatiable hunger for power. He witnessed the brutal realities of the Empire's rule, the crushing weight of its tyranny on the very people it claimed to protect. His loyalty wavered with every act of cruelty he witnessed, every innocent life extinguished by the Empire's merciless hand. He dreamt of escape, of a life beyond the shadow of the Empire, a life where he could choose his own path, fight for his own ideals. But escape seemed like an impossible dream, a whisper in the dark, a flicker of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. Elias was trapped, bound by duty and blood to an empire he loathed. He was a prisoner in a gilded cage, a weapon longing to be free. His only solace was the faint hope of a different life, a life free from the shackles of the empire, a life where he could be true to himself. Their paths collided in the heart of the commandant's fortress, a chance encounter that would change their destinies. Laia, a shadow in the bustling household, her eyes constantly scanning for danger, her mind working tirelessly to decipher the web of secrets that surrounded her. Elias, a soldier on the cusp of greatness, his heart heavy with the burden of his secrets, his mind torn between duty and conscience. She saw him in the training yard, his movements swift and deadly, his eyes hardened by years of training, yet holding a flicker of something else, something that resonated with the rebellion brewing in her own heart. He saw her in the crowded hallways, her gaze downcast, her demeanor subservient, yet her eyes held a spark of defiance, a glimmer of hope that mirrored his own longing for freedom. Their initial encounters were brief, fleeting moments in the orchestrated chaos of the commandant's household. They circled each other warily, their mistrust palpable, their suspicions fueled by their respective worlds. Laia trained to see every soldier as a potential threat, every interaction a potential trap. Elias, wary of anyone outside the rigid hierarchy of the military, suspicious of her presence in this den of power. Despite their mutual distrust, a spark ignited between them, an unspoken understanding that transcended their differences. They were both prisoners in their own right, bound by circumstances yearning for freedom.